We descend, feel love, we defy, we defy, we defy, we defy.
Hello and welcome to Russ Plays Games. My name is Russ, and as you can see, I am not sitting in front of my movie corner. And I have my dragon shirt on. It's what I usually wear when I do gaming videos. Because I'm actually in Kansas. I'm visiting my girlfriend, so you'll have to kind of forgive the little guerrilla-style filmmaking here, where I'm filming in her nerd cave, so we're just kind of making it work. She has a couple of cats, and I just didn't want them kind of jumping in and out of the frame all the time and kind of just walking across me. And if you see some of the Sasquatch and Sunflower videos, you might end up seeing the cats a couple of times. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about Subsearch, the game. This game is from the 1970s, 1973 by the box here. And this was a game that was kind of like Battleship. So if anyone's ever seen Battleship, you kind of know how to play. You have a grid across the top, okay? And then you have 3 levels of water. You have 100 feet, 200 feet, and 300 feet, okay? And basically what you're doing is you have ships across the top, and you're dropping depth charges down into the sea, and you're trying to blow up your opponent's submarines, hence the name Subsearch. And you have, over here, you have your 3 grids for your 3 different things. In fact, the grids look something like that, okay? And you stick little pegs, a la Battleship, into the little grids up here, and then you kind of try to figure out where's their submarine, and you know, the submarines are kind of doing different things, and I'll show you some different things. But we went thrifting this last weekend because we hadn't actually. I don't think when I was here in March, I don't think we actually went. We went to some antique stores, but we didn't hit any of the thrift stores. So this time we hit the thrift stores just to kind of see what would happen, and I found this Subsearch game. Now, when you go to thrift stores, when you start to look around, if you're going to start to do some thrifting, if you want to start looking for things, because sometimes thrift stores don't really know what they have. And, I mean, honestly, this game's not that expensive online. It's only kind of recently become popular again because people are starting to discover that it's basically the same thing as the Battleship, but just better because you're dropping depth charges and you're trying to blow up your opponent's submarines. Instead of just calling out a random number, you're actually calling out a grid and then a depth. So you're actually like dropping the depth charge and letting it go down before it explodes. So you don't. So it's really quite strategic in that respect. So Subsearch is a very, very interesting game in that respect. But when you're starting to thrift, okay, over here, actually it's over here. Over here, you can see that this is the pricing sticker for it, okay? And you probably won't be able to tell, but that says $2.99 US, okay? Because I live here in the US. And so, if you're going to start thrifting, here's what you want to look for. When you go to thrift stores, look around the entrance, or go up and ask somebody and say, hey, what tags are kind of on sale today? And basically what they'll do is they'll kind of point you to a sign, or they'll say, hey, orange tags or yellow tags or whatever. And what's really nice is that when you walk in, I got this for 25 cents. Not joking. Okay? Not joking. I walked up to the counter expecting to pay $3, and the woman goes, 25 cents, please. And I went, oh, and I was like handing her a 20, and I'm going, oh, I should have given you my dollar because I had $1 on me. Because I thought I was going to have to pay $3. And she goes, oh no, if you see the sign over there, it says that it's like this much for the orange tags, and that's an orange tag item. And I'm like, well, heck, what a steal of a deal. Because the amount of money that I'm probably going to spend to make this copy complete, because this isn't a complete copy, by the way, But it actually does have the instruction manual with it, which is really, really nice. Because it kind of gives me, kind of the assembly and how to play and all that kind of stuff. The only thing I need right now, I need most of the components, but the nice thing is that I have all of the pegs, which is good. I don't need any more pegs. And like I said, I have the instruction manual, so this will give me what I need. Okay? Then I do have 2 of these cards, and I'll explain what these cards do because it's kind of interesting. And I also have, I'll explain this in a minute. But I have every single component in terms of the exact all of these components that make up the actual board. I have all of those. So all I need are the smaller components, like these little doohickeys that I'm trying to remember how they go in. They're supposed to go. Well, they're supposed to go in like that somehow, but I think it's supposed to go this way. That's what it's supposed to be. So you pop these in from the back side. Pop these in from the back side like that, and then you drop them down in, and then they go in like that. Okay, so I need a full set of these. Okay, because all I have right now for one side is I have the 100, 200, or the 300 and the 200 for one side, and that's it. That's all I have for this. Okay, but these. And I'll need the flag. I'll need the little flags here. Because it says load ships with white pegs. A miss is a white peg. A near miss is a red peg. And a direct hit is a flag. Okay? And so this is your flagship status panel. Okay? And then it has like a cool little graphic of like a little sonar and, some different little buttons and stuff. And it's very Milton Bradley. If you look at the side of the board on the battleship, you see the little dials and switches and radar and stuff like that. This leans heavily into that. Okay, and so like here's kind of the side panels. The end panels. There's these 2 panels here, which are actually very good, in very good condition. And then up here we have the actual board. Okay, this is the actual top panel. So you put your red pegs, your white pegs, and your flags in these little trays up at the top, and then this board, once you get it kind of all locked in, this board kind of snaps in something. Kind of snaps in. It says, 1. Assemble A panel first, then slide it over. 2. Then assemble the B panel, slide it over. C. Drop cardboard C panel into slot. Which is, I'm sure that's what this is cardboard C panel. But basically this thing sits pretty much like this on the top. Okay? And then this is the grid. This is the grid where you have, there's like a little torpedo thing here that came with the game. But here again, it's not 100% complete. And so this is your grid that you're actually going to maneuver from. So you have your home port over here. You have sea lanes and torpedo shots. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to move across this grid and you're going to drop your depth charges. Okay. So for instance, if I'm if I'm playing if I'm playing like this, okay, so that this thing's over here and this thing's up on top, and I drop something in, okay, this grid here corresponds to this grid up here, okay, because you have 1 through 36, and then you have 1 through 36, and on the other side, okay, because I'm actually, so the board isn't 100% complete, so I'm probably going to need a few pieces for that. You have these little side trays, okay, that are going to, because this is the top where this connects in like this, okay, and so underneath, so like on my side, for instance, if I'm playing red, then this side, well, actually this side sits over here, actually, but anyway, so basically what ends up happening is that I put my subs down here, okay, and so that way when yellow shoots at mine with their depth charges, I'll have identical boards with 36 squares right down here, okay, and so there's a strategic element to the game when you're playing, because you have to kind of figure out how does this, how does me trying to shoot at these different ships, how is that going to look? How is that going to play? Okay, and basically the rules kind of show you how things work. Okay, and so this kind of shows you, you be the first player. So the object of the game is to be the first player to sink either the 3 opponent subs or the 3 opponent surface vessels. So if this is why you have torpedo shots across here and then across up top up over here, is you can shoot your torpedo at the surface ships, okay, to try to blow them up. And then it says the red player sits, so the red home port on top of the surface of the board is to his right, so be on his right side. And then the yellow player sits across the board with the yellow home port on to his right. Okay. Then each player uses the 3 surface ships. So if I was playing red, then red would be on this side. Okay. And then you would, if you were playing yellow, then you would have it on this side. Okay. And then divide the red and white pegs evenly between enemy players, place in storage compartments. Load each of the surface vessels with 9 white pegs, depth charges. 4 pegs on the 4-hold ship, 3 on the 3-hold, and 2 on the 2-hold. Place the red surface vessels anywhere on the red home port and the yellow ones on the yellow home port. So you place them, so you kind of place them up on your little home port up here, okay? Then each player secretly places his 3 subs in the enclosed 3-leveled sub-ocean area on his side under his opponent's surface ocean. So that's why it's like, if I'm playing red, then I place mine under here. Okay? So if this thing, again, is sitting like this, then these 3 levels, I'm going to have open holes here that I'm going to be able to stick my 3 subs on each of these levels, okay? That's the point of the game. And then, you may place 1 sub on each level, all on the same level, or any combination you desire. Once placed, the subs cannot be moved during the game. Each player places his mine on any space, but only on the first or the 100-foot level. So they can only place it on the surface or down at the 100-foot level. Okay. Can it be placed on a space with a sub or a space over a sub? Each player records on a piece of paper the space number on which the mine rests and keeps it hidden from his opponent until proof of the mine location is needed. And then you move and you take turns. So the red fleet moves first, and then the players take turns. You must of a surface vessel move. It may also consist of firing a depth charge or the firing of a torpedo. Okay. So, if you're going to fire a depth charge, so at the end of the move, so you can move 1, 2, or 3 spaces, and you can move any spot on the board, so you can even move diagonally. So you don't just go like one move and then one. You can go like diagonally one space. Another one. So after you do that, then you declare if you will not drop a depth charge. If you decide to drop a depth charge, or if you want to do either A or B and then fire a torpedo. Ship must carry a peg to fire a depth charge. When you fired a depth charge, your opponent, after appraising the explosion location as to his subpositions, will call the result. He calls one of the following. Direct hits. If one of his sub is on the exact space, number, and level called, this sinks the sub. A near miss if one of his subs is on one of the 4 adjacent spaces around the explosion and on the same level. The adjacent spaces are north, south, east, and west, but not diagonal. Also, a near miss is when a number is called, or the number called is the same as a sublocation, but the depth is 1 level above or below. This indicates the sub's position on one of 6 possible spaces. So, that being that, if I drop a depth charge on, say, number 14 here, okay, then the numbers could be, if it's a near miss, he could be, if it's at like, say, 200, okay, then it could be, if it's a near miss, it could be 8, 13, 20, or 15, or it could be 14 on the level above, or 14 on the level below. Does that make sense? Okay. That's the advantage of this game is that could be. And then a complete miss is, of course, a complete miss. So basically, when you report like a near miss, you place the white pegs. You would place... I'll just show you. For instance... If you reported a near miss, then you would take white pegs and you would basically and then you would have one up here. Okay, so you would do that. So there's a white peg up here, and then you'd make a cross here, and then you put one down below. Does that make sense? So that way you're saying, oh, this game you have to think in 3 dimensions. You can't just think in one, like in Battleship. In normal Battleship, when you attack someone, right? And you call out J5, and they go hit, right? You put a little red peg on your little board. You take a little, or they say miss, and you take a little white peg and you put it in, and then you go, or if you get a hit, then you go, okay, so J6, and then they might say, oh, J6, that's a miss, so then you put a miss in there, and then you call out maybe J4, and then hit, okay, bam, so, or maybe you go, like H5, or you might go K5 or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll have, because you have a grid of 10 by 10, right? And so, but this one, you have a grid of 36 squares, and the subs could be anywhere on there, okay? And so that's the point, is you have to think in 3 dimensions. You can't just think, oh, I missed it 200, so it's a near miss. No. And if you just miss, then you would just place a peg where that one exploded. Okay? So that's what it is. Oh, I see. Okay, I had it wrong. So basically, this part down here, this big tray at the bottom, that's not the top, actually. That's the bottom. And then this sucker fits in, slots in like that, and then this goes on top. Okay. So, yeah, I messed up. My bad. My bad. That's my bad. I messed up. I'll call that one. Okay. So, yeah, now you kind of know how to play Subsearch. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get pretty much most of the components for this thing. Because I'm missing all of the ships. I'm missing all 3 levels for each side. So I'm missing the 100 level, the 200 level, and the 300 level. I'm missing all of these, all of the grids, the 100, 200, 300, except for the 200 and 300 on one side. Yeah, but I have all the other ones. Oh, and I'm missing the center wall. That's what I'm missing. So, yeah. So let me see how much I can set up, and that way we can kind of see what we're missing. So this is the very top. Okay. Let's sit those guys over there. Now, what we do, okay, let's, okay, so what we're going to end up with, there we go. That one's going to go right there. That one's going to pop in like that. Okay. That makes a little bit more sense. Alright. And then we'll stick. Oops, wrong way. Alright. Okay. Okay. So that's mostly set up. So you can kind of see how that looks. Okay. So I'm missing this center thing because that's the top piece right there. Okay. So I'm missing the center. I'm missing these 3 depths on each side. I'm missing 4 of these. Okay, the hundreds on both sides, and then 200 and 300 on this side, because I have the 200 and 300 depth on that side. Okay, and then I'm missing all of the ships. So pretty much this game is about, I'd say, probably 45 to 50% complete. That's why I said 45, because I'm missing some components for the board, and then I'm missing all of the components to play. So I need all of my ships that I'd be able to move around with, and then the 3 subs to go on each of the 3 levels. Okay? And yeah, so it's actually, I mean, for how much I paid for it, 27 cents, I'm actually surprised that it's as complete as it is. Okay? Because I've been at some places where I've looked at this stuff, and it's really, really, like, there's not many components left. And because sometimes people will steal components, They'll sometimes kind of reach inside and they'll take some components because they can. Sometimes they won't watch their kids. Their kids will take components. So there's sometimes a lot of, that kind of stuff that goes on. So you have to be careful when you're buying stuff like this. You want to make sure that you're getting the right you're getting the right things. Okay, you want to make sure that you're doing, when you're thrifting, you want to make sure that you're getting the right components. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get this home yet. My girlfriend and I haven't really talked about it. So we're in the process of kind of figuring some of that stuff out, like how to get some of these things home and how to do some things. But I mean, for the fact that I paid 27 cents and it has the instruction manual, so the biggest thing I need are just the components and then like one center piece to the board. That's not bad. And I'll just say this: normally, you can find this game. I was looking around and on Board Game Geek, well, not Board Game Geek, but eBay. On eBay, you can find this game for about $15 to $20, mostly complete, with all the components, all the levels, all the pieces, all the pegs. Sometimes you might need some pegs here, sometimes you might need some components there, but for the most part, I mean, honestly, I'm not going to complain because, honestly, how much I'm going to spend for the components themselves is about how much I'd actually spend for the whole board game. Complete. If that makes sense. Okay? And because by the time I pay for the shipping, by the time I pay for the components, by the time I pay for all that stuff, I'm going to have paid probably about how much I would pay for a full complete copy off eBay. Okay? And honestly, I'm ecstatic. That's awesome that I was able to find this game as complete as it is at a thrift store for 27 cents. I mean, it's just an insane deal, and I couldn't pass it up. So I wanted to kind of make this video to kind of show you that, and in the future, I'll try to do some videos where I'm actually filming, where I go to some thrift stores and I do some looking around for some different things, for some board games, maybe for some crafting components, maybe things that you can use for Dungeons and Dragons or some other miniatures games, because my girlfriend and I were very into gaming, and so we're starting a new channel that we're going to have up pretty soon called Sasquatch and Sunflower. That's what we're thinking about calling it. We might call it something else. But as of filming right now, that's kind of the direction that we're leaning in, okay? Because I'm from Washington, she's from Kansas, so that's kind of what we're thinking. So anyway, smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment below. Have you ever played Subsearch? Do you know about Subsearch? Is this your first time coming across Subsearch? Because I didn't know anything about this game. My parents didn't own it. I knew nobody in my neighborhood when I was growing up had it. So I never knew this game existed until like just about 4 or 5 years ago, because I started seeing a lot of board game related content when I started making some board game content on my channel, and I started seeing some board game related content coming across my YouTube feed, and in one of those videos I happened to see this game called Subsearch, and I started kind of looking around for it, like, hey, what's going on over here, what's going on over there, what can I see? And I'll tell you this, it was flippin' crazy when I saw it the first time. I was like, wow, that is really ingenious to incorporate multi-levels into a board game like that, kind of almost 3D space, because not many miniatures games, not many games at all do that. And, I mean, honestly, like a lot of space flight sim games should be doing that, okay? They should have a 3D component to it where you can go up and down, to try to fly, to try to like get above your opponent and try to, shoot them and stuff like that. Or like maybe even like a Star Trek style game where, you could have like your Enterprise come up to the same level or be below the level and shoot up at them and stuff like that, but they can only shoot their phasers in that direction, like, or maybe they have to reorient themselves or something like that. Because I had an idea for a game one time to try to incorporate a 3D kind of aspect to a flight sim where you'd almost have like a D20 style polyhedron that the ship would be encased in, that you would then be able to, like, you know, twist it as it's flying. Because if you've ever played the game Colony Wars for the PlayStation, for the original PlayStation, okay, one of the awesome things, and this was Psygnosis at its finest, okay, one of the awesome things about that game was when you tap the thruster button, okay, all you had to do was tap it. Because there's no friction in space. There's no, like, once you start moving in a direction, you're moving in that direction, okay, because you're following the laws of motion, Newton's laws of motion. An object in motion stays in motion until acted upon by an external force, right? So when you tap the thrusters in Colony Wars, what happens? You're moving in one direction. You can orient yourself however you want, but you're still moving in that one direction. And if you need to stop and change direction, what do? You move, you kind of turn around in a different direction, and then you have to thrust to overcome the momentum that you're going in that direction to go in a new direction. Okay? And so having something like that in a game, I think, would add a lot to it, to where you'd be flying along, and then you could reorient yourself, you know, to be able to shoot things or be able to do things, and then you could, like, twist yourself around and then maybe thrust in another direction, you know, something like that. You know, because that was one of the things about Star Wars TIE Fighter. I know I'm a huge fan of TIE Fighter, if you've watched my channel a number of times. But in Star Wars TIE Fighter, it's a flight sim. It's literally like you're flying in atmosphere, even though you're in space. You just thrust up, and no matter where you orient your ship, you're just automatically flying in that direction, just like if you were in a jet fighter here on Earth. And it's not very realistic, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. Whereas Colony Wars, you constantly have to be, like, making minute adjustments to try to get yourself oriented right behind the guy, you know. And then they start slowing down, and even though they're moving, you're moving faster now, and you can run into the back of them and take damage. So, yeah, it's a different game. So, anyway, but that's Subsearch. I just kind of wanted to kind of make this video to kind of talk a little bit about Subsearch and just kind of my journey and kind of this whole thrifting thing. So if you want to see more thrifting videos here on Russ Plays Games, let me know in the comments below. And as we say, we will see you on the next one.